Hello everyone, welcome to our live stream and broadcast online mix. Today we'll be just going over the basic fundamentals for how we mix here at Cityline. And for those of you who are new, we just want to say welcome, and we're so thankful for you guys, and we appreciate you wanting to serve here at Cityline. So let's go dive right into it. So first things first, the software that we use, also commonly known as the DAW that we use, also known as software. DAW stands for Digital Audio Workspace, and the one that we use here at Cityline is Ableton. And this is what the screen will look like when you kind of open it. There's a lot going on, but don't worry, it's actually really simple once you break it down. And today we're going to go over just a couple things, and then our next meeting we'll kind of dive a little bit deeper, a little bit more of what everything else is. But I hope this tutorial will kind of just teach you the basics, and it helps you feel confident before we meet in person. And so yeah, so here is the program, and things are color coded, as you can see. So right now I just want you to focus on this top part, up to here, or technically up to here, so from this red to the purple. So this is how it's kind of broken down. We have all our vocals in this color here, on this darker purple. So in this weekend we had Zion, Christine, CC, Ebony, and Dean. And so and then here in our instrument tabs around here, so for the purple here is Dean, Ebony, CC, Christine, Zion, and over here is all the instruments. And so we have drums are in red, basses in blue, greens electric guitars, the next color is acoustic, and then blue is keys, and then the hot pink is our tracks, and then the dark blue, which I'd include, is some extra stuff, but that's not too much to worry. So this is how we normally break down, color code our stuff, just to easily be spotted when you're moving fast, you know. So yeah, so this single red one is called a channel strip. So up to the 00 that you see, up to the name, everything in between is the channel strip. So you can click on each one, and this information down here will change depending on which channel strip you're on. So yes, these are channel strips. And so let's go ahead and go into the basic mix. And so normally how we want our mixes to be is our vocals, we want them to be the most highest volume of all. And so vocals will always be sitting on top of all the instruments. The instruments are going to sit below the vocals. And so here I made a dramatic kind of volume difference, so you can see that drums are clearly below vocals. It looks like bass and keys are the same. Electric is below keys, acoustic guitar is below electric, and then tracks is higher than these two, but they're kind of the same as keys. Now when we mix, it's not this dramatic. When we're actually mixing, it's a lot like this. It's really closer, but it's easier to tell, like, okay, when we're starting off, it's better to know that this is how far drums kind of will sit and how far bass is from drums. So this is just like the basic kind of like standard kind of a mix, I would say, but it doesn't mean we always have to stick to it. It's just a good guideline of where to start if you've never mixed before. And so of course there's going to be songs where electric guitar has a solo, so when that solo is coming up, then you'll go ahead and boost electric guitar higher than keys. And then sometimes there's a song where bass is really really soft and the keys are more louder, so then we'll probably just lower down the bass the bass underneath the keys, and the keys will sit higher, you know. But this is like a good standard of when to start mixing. So yeah, so when we're mixing, this is a good kind of a line to kind of know where you want to be while you're mixing here at Cityline. And so we'll show an example of this. So yeah, so get to kind of know this, and we'll move forward to that. All right, so this is to help understand instrument wise, the breakdown of it, volume level. Now let's know how to mix vocals. So for vocals, there is going to be, for us, we have between 4 to 5 vocals each weekend. And the question now begins, like, okay, I got 5 vocals or 4. How do I mix them? How do I make it sound good? So first things first is we always want our lead vocalist, and so here I highlight in purple, to always sit on top, as in the highest out of everyone else, and everyone else is going to sit right below the main lead. And so how far below should I go to make it sound good? And so I have here on the top right sorry, excuse me, sorry, on the top right, an image of the channel strip. And so if I look here in the channel strip, that bar is a zoom in of this right here. So I just for us to see it better, I did a snapshot of it, and so this is what a zoom in looks like. And so right here, this line is excuse me, sorry, is the zeroed out line, meaning there's no more extra gain, or there's less gain in the person's volume, which I indicated here as the top line right here. And so we'll always have the lead singer sitting, you always put this triangle shape right here on that. And so what it looks like here is like this little white line that sits right here. And so this black bar is that line, this black bar is the line below it, and this next black bar is the third line below that zeroed out line. And so usually your backup harmonies or singers will sit between this bottom line and this middle line. And so here I clearly put right in the middle. Sometimes you can go slightly, down to that low. I wouldn't go below that third line. You can raise it if you need to, but generally right between the two. And so yeah, you identify who's leading, and then you'll drop everyone else. I found this on the web. You'll drop everyone else below that line to this middle line. And so again, in our sample, I'll show exactly how to do so. And lastly, we'll be talking about vocals width here. And so this gets a little bit more advanced. So if like this seems a lot to begin with in the beginning, don't worry about it. This is more going to be for our team who's already been mixing for a while. And we're going to start exploring how to properly mix and setting some width. And so again, if you don't feel like you're ready for this part, don't worry about it. You can go ahead and kind of skip forward to the online mixing. And so for my team who's ready to kind of take their mixing to the next step, we kind of already talked about vocals width. And so what is vocals width? So this circle here with this line in the center is indicating that the vocal is directly center of a microphone. And so if we head over here towards the left side, if we turn this knob counterclockwise, you'll start to hear the vocalist audio begin to lean towards your left side of your speakers or your headphones. And then on the right side over here, you'll get to see when you spin clockwise and see the dial turn to your right, you'll hear your vocals be heard more on your right side. And so the whole point of this is to make your the vocals sound more wide. The best way to describe it is it will sound more of a surround sound type of thing, rather than imagine just in your head mentally, you only have one speaker and it's right in the center in front of you. And so you only have audio coming out straight towards your face in one direction. But now imagine having 4 different speakers sitting in front of you, 2 of them on your left side. So just like so in this photo, there's 2 on your left side that are spaced out a little bit more, and then 2 on your right side that are spaced out more, and it'll sound a little bit more surrounding. So this is the trick that we use. It's called panning. And in our Ableton, it's this dial over here. So in here, in this channel, it's going to be this big old dial right here. And so an example I have, where we have our lead singer, you always want it center, and then your backup vocalist is you start panning them to whatever, however far to the left you want it to be. So another general rule is we always have your ultimate far left. You never want this dial here to reach all the way down here to this bottom. You want it to be at least 180 degrees flat. And so, or I guess this would be 45 degrees angled to the left and 45 a max angle degree to the right. And again, we'll go over this over the live demonstration. So yeah, so that's basically the main things I would like you guys to know of how to mix for how we do here at Cityline. And so let's go ahead and jump over to the example. All right, so here we are in Ableton, and so we normally have two windows running on our computer at church. And so here's the window 1, and here's a horizontal view, and then here's window number 2, and this is more like a vertical view of the tracks or channel strips. So mainly you don't have to worry about this on any given Sunday. We mainly look at this screen, so we're gonna go ahead and just focus on that for today. And so here we have again the instruments on the left side, and then we have our vocals here on the right side. So all this other stuff here, we don't have to get into that today, and we're just gonna focus mainly on the colors we did on the slides, and a little bit here of this greenish area. This is like the master volume, so all these instruments here and all these vocals mics, they're all going to channel into here, which is clearly labeled a crowd, which again we don't worry about that. Band, that's all the instruments. Vocals is vocals obviously, and an extra is some of the extra effects that we have going on, but mainly it's just the band and the vocals. And then on the very far right we have a couple delays and reverbs that we have. I'll just go ahead, I won't talk about it today, I'll just have it running very low, and then you'll hear at the very end of how the reverb affects the total mix. So yeah, let's go in. I went ahead and chose a song, and we are going to first mix with just the instruments. And so I went ahead and muted all the vocals. Let me just go ahead and let me just lower everything, and we'll just go one by one and start mixing. So I have all the main instruments muted, and I have all the vocals set to 0. And so let's go ahead and start mixing. I'm going to pause here and there just to make sure that my microphone is not drowned out. I just raised my volume, so hopefully it's a little bit louder, but my vocal isn't drained out by the instrument. So let's just go and start playing. So first things first, what I always do is I zero out the drums. Or at least when I'm coming in on Sunday, that the drums are zeroed out. And so there's two ways we can do that. So as I move this triangle knob here, I click in here and move up and down. Take a look here on this red channel here, and you'll see it'll say track volume negative. And so in order to zero it out, that obviously means make sure the numbers are 0.0, and going. Got to be there slightly. It's a fun thing to play with, and so that's why I don't really use option 1 when I want to zero out really quick. The fastest way to zero it out is double click on that triangle, and you'll automatically zero it out. And so that's the fastest way. And so there, for drums, I always leave it there, and that is my very baseline of this is how I begin mixing for all the other instruments, because all the other instruments, as we saw on the slideshow, have to be below the drums. And so I'll go ahead and hit play. And so I'm going to wait a little bit till the drums begin to build. Or in our instance, I can just jump straight to it. Okay. And so now, drums 2, we never have to touch. Sorry, the one thing I guess I should explain is these are groups. Anytime you see a circle and 3 dots, that means there's a group of channel strips in it. And usually, for us, there is a left and right channels. For electric guitar, this is group EG1L, so electric guitar 1, left side, electric guitar 2, right side. And so we group keys left, keys right. That's just normal standard. That's how it goes in the music world, I guess. And so yeah, so that's what those icons are. And so for drums 2, we'll never touch that channel because it will always live right. I believe it lives right here on the 3rd line. And so you'll never have to touch that worry. So go ahead and just skip that and go on to the bass and electrics. So continue the song. Let's go ahead and enter our bass. And if we remember from the track, that bass sits slightly below the drums. So if drums are living right here on this line, like kind of in there, I want to have it the next line below halfway. So let's say on this black, the drums are living here. I want to live it right halfway below it. Or the line. Let's say this black line right here. Cool. And then usually second, that's the same level as bass as our keys. So I'll go keys next. Okay, keys. So what line is the bass? The bass is there. So as the song's dying down, let's go ahead and jump back. Cool. There they auto jump back. So let's raise this up. Alright, so the keys and the bass are like right there on the same level. It doesn't have to be exact. I mean, we can always visually see here, but if you also use your ears, and right now to my ears, they sound pretty good. So using your ears is also a good method, but visually seeing it is also the better way to make sure that the keys are never higher than the bass, the bass is never higher than keys, or if they're pretty close. Cool. So now that bass and keys are basically the same, the next instrument we have is electric guitar, which sits slightly below. So I'm gonna wait for the track to loop. There goes the loop, and then I'm gonna go ahead and add in electric guitar. So bass and the keys are like slightly above this line here. So I'm gonna do like tiny bit below. A little bit too less. Let me put it up a little bit. Alright, so that sounds about good. We'll go next to acoustic guitar. We'll add it in. There we go. We'll just wait for the song to loop again. I'll let you can go a little bit up. Just because this song is a little bit electric driven. There's a solo guitar right here. Okay, cool. Then we'll go to tracks. Tracks is about the same as keys and bass. Cool. And now we have a pretty good mixed instruments wise. So I'll give it about 10 seconds to take a listen to that. Cool. Now we're ready for the vocals. All right, so for this song, CC is leading. I put her in the dead center, and then we have two male vocals and two female vocals. And so let me just widen this up a little bit so we can see our panning channel, which is going to live right here. So when you go really wide, it'll show a little bit more options, and you go really small, it'll hide a lot of things. So make it minimize it. So right now we want to, don't worry about this, what's going on here. We'll focus on the panning channels. I'm sorry, I want you to visually see the panning channels. So right now for our beginners, don't worry about the panning right now. We're just going to see this bar go up and down and focus on the greens. So I'll go ahead and right now I'm going to want to mute the band channel. And then I'm going to unmute the vocals. So mute the band channel and unmute the vocals and make sure we just hear just the vocals. So I hear tracks. I'll just mute that. It's probably because I have it chained somewhere else. Again, so this is my personal computer, so it might be mapped differently than our church computer, but it should be pretty close and very similar. So vocals, now we're ready to unmute. So they're unmuted, and I'm gonna go ahead and zero out CC to zero out again. We can double click this.
Come on, sing, there's nothing like.
One thing to know as well is we want to make sure we're singing in the right key. So every Sunday you'll have a sheet of paper in front of you that has the list of what's going on for that Sunday, from the message to announcements and the songs. And in the songs they'll have the key of what they're singing in. So you'll click this little wrench icon and where it says Auto Tune Pro, and we slightly auto tune our mix, and we set it to the right key. Right now I notice that the key window is not popping up for you, but I will go over it in person with you. And so I set the key of B, and I made sure everything was in the key of B. So I went ahead and closed that window. I know you didn't see anything pop up, but it popped up on my end. And so everyone's in the right key, and we'll go ahead and begin mixing with CC. So again, just a quick reminder, the lead singer, zero them out, and everyone else, that second bar halfway below.
Your presence, we want more, more, more and more.
So we see that CC's kind of topped out here, so we'll make sure the other vocals are not the one below it, but the line halfway below that line. So I added
all the
Dean.
glory, all the honor and power and praise is yours, Lord. Come on, sing, there's nothing.
There's nothing like your presence, God. There's nothing like your spirit, Lord.
If this is CC here, then he needs to go next line down.
There's nothing like your presence, God. There's nothing like your spirit, Lord.
There's nothing like your presence, God. We want more.
Okay, it doesn't have to be 100% accurate, but close.
Holy,
Let me jump to it. There we go.
God, we want more, more, more and more.
Okay, so they're sharing about the same line when they're singing, but when they don't sing, it's kind of hard to tell. But
Your presence, God, we want more, more,
okay, let me add in the.
Your presence, God, we want more, more, more and more. Your presence, God, we want more, more, more and more.
I'm gonna jump back a little bit on the track.
Come on, tell him there's nothing like your presence. There's nothing like your presence, God.
And now we have a pretty good leveled out mix. So we see here CC sitting right on top, and the other vocals are sitting right below. And now we'll go ahead and add a reverb.
There's nothing like your spirit.
Sorry, I clicked the wrong channel. We'll add reverb,
Nothing like your presence, God.
which is this blues here.
Come on, tell him there's nothing like your presence. There's nothing like your presence, God. There's nothing like your spirit.
Before we add in reverb, sorry, let's go ahead and add in the band to make it sound more full. Let's go ahead and add in the band.
Come on, tell him there's nothing like your presence. There's nothing like your presence, God.
And so now I want to focus on, remember the very last end slideshow where we said the vocals want to sit, sorry, in the beginning we were saying the vocals wants to sit right above the band. So wherever zero out the vocals are, let's go ahead and turn down the band, and let's see where the line of the vocals is, and make sure the band is sitting right below it.
Come on, tell him there's nothing like your presence. There's nothing like your presence, God. There's nothing like your spirit, Lord. There's nothing like your presence, God. We want more, more, more and more. There's nothing like your presence, God. There's nothing like your
There we go.
spirit, Lord. There's nothing
Now let's go ahead and add in the reverb.
presence, God. We want more, more, more and
That's an obvious sound of reverb, and this is without reverb. Usually my reverbs lives on this second line here. And now
all the glory, all the honor
This sounds like a pretty good mix.
Is yours, Lord. Come on, sing. There's nothing like your presence. There's nothing like your presence, God. There's nothing like your spirit.
All right, so yeah, so this hopefully you were listening. I forgot to mention, but hopefully you're listening with headphones so that you can totally hear. And so, yeah, this concludes, at least for the beginners who are just kind of want to see, get their toes wet of like, hey, what is all this online mixing all about? And this is the very basic. Hopefully it wasn't too much, pretty straightforward. I know, like, looking at all this, just like there's a lot going on, but once you break it down, just focusing on each channel strip, there's really not much to worry about, really. Just looking at your volumes, and then next is just making sure that, you know, we're in the right key, and just mixing from there. And it's really pretty straightforward. But this next part, again, if you guys are new and was a lot, you can go ahead and pause here. But this next part I'm about to talk on is about panning, and so these are more for our more experienced mixers. So if you want to go ahead and continue listening and just kind of take a peek at what I'm telling them, go ahead, feel free and continue watching. All right, guys, so we just went over the basic guidelines of how to mix, and I know you guys have been doing such a great job. I know I didn't have this tutorial from the very get-go, but honestly, you guys have been doing so well. The whole reason for this video is moving on forward is I just want to make sure we're all kind of mixing from the same guideline, and that for people who are watching online from week to week, there's not a dramatic difference of how our mix sounds like. We want to be as consistent as possible, and this is what we've learned to be kind of what works for us for here at Cityline of this structure. So again, thank you guys again for serving each week, and you know using your skills and ability to adjust, but we'll go ahead moving forward again, like just using this as a guideline of how to mix. So yeah, so let's go ahead and let's take your mixing level to the next level with by using panning. And I know for some of you, I've discussed this kind of shortly about what this is and how it works, and I've seen you guys already use it a little bit, which is awesome. But again, I just want to set a standard guideline of how we will be mixing it as a team, and so that we can be as consistent as possible. So yeah, normally, again, we don't always have 5 singers. Sometimes we have 4, and so we're going to talk about what do we do when we only have 4 singers instead of 5. So perfectly, 5 would be the ideal. And so because you have 2 singers on the left and 2 on the right, in this case we have 2 males and 3 females. One's always going to bleed and 2 backup vocalists. And so it works out where we have 2 left and 2 right. So in this instance, I always have the males closest to the center. If you remember on the slideshow, there's a 15-degree angle and then there's a 45-degree angle. For the males, we always want them 15. And then for the females, we want them at that 45-degree angle, so it's horizontal to the floor. And so let's go ahead and start mixing with just the vocals and see what that does. And so I'll go ahead and solo vocals.
Come on, tell him there's nothing like your presence. There's nothing like your presence, God. There's nothing like your spirit, Lord. There's nothing like your presence, God. We want more.
I want us to focus on, go ahead and close your eyes, and I'm going to verbally tell you what's going on, and I want you to listen for it. So I'm going ahead and start with Zion. I'm going to put him at 15 right. Dean, then I'll do Dean 15 left, and then I'll go Ebony 45 right. For again, 45 is horizontal to the floor that way, and then Christine 45 left. So here we go.
Come on, tell him there's nothing like your presence. There's nothing like your presence.
So here is
God.
Zion center.
There's nothing like your spirit, Lord.
There he is, 15 right.
Like your presence, God.
As you're wearing headphones, you should be able to hear him completely stand out to the right.
There's nothing like your presence.
There's Ebony centered.
There's nothing like your spirit, Lord.
Here she is, 45 right.
Like your presence, God. We want more, more, more.
Here's Dean. Resetting. Dean is center. Dean is now 15 left.
There's nothing like your spirit, Lord.
Here's Christine.
There's nothing like your presence,
Christine,
God. We
45 left.
More, more, and more. There's nothing like your presence, God. There's nothing like your spirit,
So,
Lord. There's
I can tell without looking already. Again, your ears are your best friends. If you can train your ears to hear, I hear Dean a lot in my life, so I'm gonna go ahead and lower him down a bit, because sometimes our vocalists, they'll, as you're mixing, maybe in the beginning of the service, our vocals may not feel so confident when they're singing. So some in certain parts of the area, they'll be kind of lower. They'll be singing at a lower volume, but then once we jump to a part where they're confident, then their mic all of a sudden jumps much louder, and something we just have to deal in with online mixers. It's okay. We prefer that they're consistent, but we all understand that people are still on their journey of trying to be better at what they do, and so that's why for us as mixers, our hands always need to be ready to mix during service. Last thing I want to encourage us to never be on our phones when worship is going on, because you already know, for those already serving, a lot of things are going on. And so your hands just have to be ready to mix. So I'm gonna go ahead and just lower Dean as we listen to this again. I'm gonna do some minor tweaks, and then we'll go ahead and listen to see this.
Come on, tell him there's nothing like your presence. There's nothing like your presence, God. There's nothing like your spirit, Lord. There's nothing like your presence, God. We want more and more and more and more. There's nothing like your presence, God. There's nothing like your spirit, Lord. There's nothing like your presence, God. We want more and more and more and more.
All right, and then
Come on, tell him there's nothing like your presence.
here it is with band.
There's nothing like your presence, God. There's nothing like your spirit, Lord. There's nothing like your presence, God. We want more and more and more and more. There's nothing like your presence, God. There's nothing like your spirit, Lord. There's nothing like your presence, God. We want more and more and more and more.
Awesome. So yeah, so that's panning. Hopefully it's not too difficult. So this is panning with 5 people. Let's see what happens when we pan with 4 people. What's the best practice for that? So I'm gonna go ahead and take out Dean, and we're going to move here. And so what do? Right, so it's not an even number. Dean's missing. Our 5th person doesn't exist. And so how do we mix for that? Again, it doesn't really matter too much about who's far left, who's 15, who's at 45. Just normally for me, I like to put the male closest to the center, because the male has more of a bassy note. And so it'd be kind of weird if the bassy note was only on one side of your ear. So try to have them as close as possible. Males is probably a rule of thumb, at least that I go by. And then the females are the higher end, and they are a little okay for being further out. And so if it feels like three backup vocals going far, 45 is too much and they'll really stand out, it's okay. You can go ahead and reduce them, and maybe everyone's at 15. Sometimes there's a vocalist is a little bit softer than other vocalists, and maybe the double 15s can work. Or it doesn't have to be a perfect 15. Maybe someone's at like a 5 and someone's at a someone's at a 10 and the other one's at a 20. Split it up that way. But if you still want to pan with 3 people, that's one way to do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit play, and let's see what this sounds like, and I'll mix during that.
Come on, tell him there's nothing like your presence. There's nothing like your presence, God. There's nothing like your spirit, Lord. There's nothing like your presence, God. We want more and more and more and more. There's nothing like your presence, God. There's nothing like your spirit, Lord. There's nothing like your presence, God. We want more and more and more and more. Come on, tell him there's nothing like your presence. There's nothing like your presence. All of heaven singing, holy. If all the angels sing, then I will too. Worthy, the name of Jesus reigns forever. And all of our praise and all of our worship belongs all the angels sing, then I will too. Worthy, the name of Jesus reigns forever, and all of our praise and all of our worship belongs to you.
And yeah, so I think this is a pretty good mix right here.
Oh, it belongs to you.
I just decided to move Zion to the left side instead of the right, just because in my ears it sounded better. But yeah, so everything's you know, we're very open here at Cityline, so you make your call. But I felt like going with having 3 people. I feel like going far right is a little bit too much because those really stand out.
Come on, tell him there's nothing like your presence. There's nothing like your presence, God. There's nothing like your spirit, Lord. There's nothing.
I feel like it's not too bad, but I feel like it's still missing the 5th person in order to balance it all out. But yeah, so that's what I use. I just hug it here, and yeah. So again, it's really up to you. Your call, your ear. I trust my team. I trust you guys. But as long as you kind of base it off of this guideline, we should be good. All right, guys. I love you guys.